manifest in ourselves. We all shine. Together, we are Black beyond measure.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to A Balanced Life with Dr. Jacquie here at Black Star Network. And I am always delighted when we have this opportunity to get together. Of course, most of us have come to realize that discovering how to live a balanced life is not for the faint of heart. It requires every fiber of your being, but most importantly, it requires your presence and for you to be engaged. I get it. I understand that this pandemic has literally taken us to a place that we didn't think that we could go. But now that we're in that space of discovering how to recover and how to return and how to get back to doing the things that matter for us in life, as we are preparing for back to school, as you're thinking about all the things that it's going to take to make you ready, to get your kid ready, to have that space and time to really allow yourself to grow, we're going to have some real substantive conversation today with some of our most fabulous guests. Let me tell you, Dr. Tierney, Pastor JT, Stacey Owens, and Mocha Lee are here to help guide us toward what it means to pull ourselves together. Hey, everybody.
Hey, Dr. Jacquie.
Hey. You know, I love when we get together. This day of the week is probably one of my favorite because it allows us to have an opportunity to really just pour into the lives of other people. And, you know, as we're thinking about going back to school and, you know, all the back to school shopping and tax-free day is coming and taking kids to the grocery store, to the department store. Oh, my God, my head just hurts thinking about all the shopping carts that have been run over my heel over the years, you know, just gives me kind of an angst. But, you know, there's some things that have been going on as we've tried to figure out mentally, emotionally, how we can get ready. I wanted to ask each of you, you know, what has COVID taught you about being ready for this next season of your life? Pastor JT.
Wow. Well, thank you, Dr. Jacquie, and good morning to all of you that are watching and to all of my wonderful sisters that are on the panel with me. COVID really taught me that expect the unexpected. And live every day and be in the moment of that day. I believe everything that happened prior to COVID is no more, you know, so COVID told us and taught us, I believe, if we are willing to learn the lesson, that it's okay to change. And even possibly even looking at now, if we have parents who had a child that was in the 5th grade prior to COVID, and you may have a child that's entering the 5th grade now post-COVID, you won't even be able to parent that child the same way, even though they're going into the same grade. And so if we look at life like that, I believe that we take advantage of the opportunity to begin again. We're given a blank sheet of paper every day. And why in the world would you continue to rewrite what has been written when you have an opportunity to create something that could be a masterpiece?
Absolutely. Dr. Tierney.
Similar to what Pastor JT just said, the biggest thing that I learned is to go at my own pace, and knowing that my pace now may not be what my pace was last year or the year before that. Sometimes we can get stuck in this pattern of we're supposed to be here by now. We should have been there by now. Or we want to accomplish this in this time frame. But when we have different things that's happening all around us, things that are beyond our control, the different changes, like Pastor JT said, we have to give ourselves that grace to go at our own pace. What is the pace that you need right now? That could be from a physical standpoint. It could be from a mental, emotional standpoint. It could be from a financial standpoint, you know, so making sure that you're running your race at your own pace, not his pace, her pace, the Joneses, the Smiths, or whatever it is, but making sure that you're staying tuned with you and going at the pace that you need in this season.
Oh, my goodness. Learning how to stay in your own lane has never been easy, you know, and sometimes it gets the best of us. Mocha Lee, what has COVID taught you about getting ready for your next season?
Wow. You know, the main thing I can think about is just being organized, you know, especially because I have 2 girls. One is a rising 5th grader and one is a rising 9th grader. And just knowing, okay, when we leave, we have to have masks, you know, or did we get the booster shot? when was the last shot? Now we have to know, how to schedule. So a lot of it in terms of my mindset as a parent has been stay on top of your stuff, be organized. And I love what the other commentary was, expect the unexpected, because now with the new strains of COVID, we still don't know. You could have had your booster shot. You still might get it. So I think also keeping a positive mindset, like, your children vibe off of you as a parent. So I think just keeping a positive mindset, staying organized, and just like Dr. Tierney said, have some grace and patience with the whole scenario. But again, I always go back to the morning time. I have to wake up in the morning and at least spend a few minutes just meditating and telling myself, I have enough time. I can be organized. Those positive affirmations really, really help a lot of me and my clients.
Those are really good tips, because oftentimes staying organized with so many moving pieces and parts and regulations and rules and different settings, especially when your kids are going to different schools, you got middle school, high school, elementary school, and all of them have different guidelines. And so it does sometimes put us aback to be able to figure out how to do what is next for us individually. Stacey Owens, how is this navigating, and what has COVID taught you as you look for your new level of readiness in this next season in life?
COVID has taught me to be flexible and to let go. I had to learn how to recognize my controllables. And if it was something that I did not have control of, I needed to let it go. So I think during this time, I've tapped more into my emotions and recognizing that, I'm the type of person pre-COVID where I had to have some type of control over everything that was going on in my life. And if it changed, I would have some type of, not necessarily a meltdown, but it would have some type of impact on me. And I had to just learn how to just let that go and go with the flow and know that whatever comes my way, I have what I need within me to deal with it, and just deal with it and don't let it cause stress and anxiety. And I think that's one of the key things that we've had to deal with in education as well. Teaching our parents how to just control the things you can control, and the things you can't control, mask mandates and all that, learn how to flow with it.
Learning how to flow with it. Wow. When we come back after the break, I want us to really talk about this issue of procrastination. I don't know if you guys caught it or not, but some of the things that were said was it's okay to change and it's okay not to be okay. But in addition to that, we've got to learn how to not only just go with the flow, but have a plan and be organized and, go at your own pace. And so as you're listening and you're hearing our guests talk, make certain that you're jotting down some things that you see in your own life that maybe you need to press the pause button and give yourself space to really figure out how to go into it. When we come back after the break, let's talk a little bit about procrastination and how it can hinder us from moving forward. When we're back after the break.
When we invest in ourselves, we all shine. Together, we are Black beyond measure.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
When we invest in ourselves, we're investing in what's next for all of us. Growing, creating, making moves that move us all forward. Together, we are Black beyond measure.
Welcome back, everyone, to A Balanced Life. Let me just say, it is one of these times and seasons in each of our lives where going forward is something we just have to put the pedal to the metal to. As we can see, life isn't going to stop. And with all of the things that have happened over the last 2 years, 2.5 years, we are moving into that space of saying we've got to figure out what our individual new normal looks like. Now, let me just say, I am not a fully recovering procrastinator, but I have my moments. I'm just going to be honest. I have my own moments when I literally feel like I'm taking my time, but I'm taking my time for good reason. I'm not being slow for the purpose of just being slow. I'm literally trying to figure things out and see how they can work for me. I want to ask Mocha Lee this question because, Mocha, when it comes down to procrastination, how can it hinder us? And you work in that fitness space. And oftentimes when adults don't take time to relax or rest or do fitness, they can do more harm because oftentimes that procrastination turns into never. Talk to us about that for a moment.
Oh, wow. It turns into never, Dr. Jacquie. And that breaks my heart. And I have to remind clients, students, anyone that I work with, that I am in your life for accountability. I am here because there are a few things that you don't necessarily want to do, such as work out, that I want to encourage you to do it anyway, because it's for the benefit of your own health and your own life. And it's funny, like, although exercise I love, and I'll wake up and I won't procrastinate, I'll do that right away. There are other things that I might procrastinate myself. So I'm like you, I have to check myself. I'm like, well, am I moving slowly for a reason, or am I just putting it off? And it's tricky because with my kids, I notice I don't want them to procrastinate. So then I don't want to be a hypocrite and say, girls, stay on top of your stuff. If I told you to do it once, go ahead and do it the first time. But then I notice in some of my own business, business dealings, I might notice that I've put stuff off. And I think it's because if I'm ever overwhelmed in a certain sense, like, wait, do I go to this conference, or do I speak there, or do I, sometimes overwhelming feelings will cause me to procrastinate. So I just try to reel it in and realize that one little baby step forward is at least going to put me in the right direction. And same thing with my clients with fitness. One little step forward. You don't have to do a whole lot all at once, but the small steps add up to fabulous results.
Well, let's talk about that for a moment, because when you think about how fitness plays a part in our life, sometimes socially and emotionally, we can be in our own way because of how we look. We're not comfortable in the skin that we're in. But there are times when if we don't move ourselves forward, we can stay stuck in a rut. How do you help people get out of a rut?
Such a good question. The way I help people get out of a rut, many times it's just by asking them, what are their specific goals? And not even maybe goals, but just what are a few things you would like to see yourself improve? You'd be surprised, Dr. Jacquie. Sometimes it's just simple stuff. I have a few people say, I just need to get up and down the stairs better without getting out of breath. Not everyone says, I want to run a marathon or do a triathlon. There's a wide range of things that people would like to see themselves do. So in order to keep them committed to that, if we write it down, sometimes I almost try to make it like a contract. Okay, write down these 3 things you'd like to do. Let me help you think of some smart ways to get there, some realistic, attainable steps. And then let's, as a team, move forward towards doing it. And sometimes I have a little backlash, people who don't quite get there. But I feel like, if I'm patient and just remind, I think there's like a nice way to remind people what they told me they want to do. And then I just say, you can do this. You just have to put in the little bit of effort, or a lot of effort in some cases, that it takes to get there. But it's a reminder thing. It's like, if you're saying you want to do something, then let's go ahead and do it. Or maybe don't keep on talking about it. How about that? Maybe we need to just move on to a different type of goal, because that's realistic,
I do respect that, because things have to be realistic. And I know we're talking about procrastination, and oftentimes parents and how they do what they do or not do what they do can make it difficult for our students and our kids. And I want to ask Stacey a very similar question as it relates to parents procrastinating and getting their kids prepared to come back to school. We're only a month and a half out. What are some of the expectations, Stacey, that you have of your parents to be ready to have their kids come back into the building?
Right now is a great time for routines. Let's get back to our routine. Right now, kids are floating around in the world doing whatever they want to during the summertime. They're staying up late playing video games. So right now we should be backing up our bedtime in about 15-minute increments each day so that we get closer to the original bedtime that's used for school time. Start preparing your child for setting their clothes out, even though they may not be going anywhere tomorrow because it's still summer. Start practicing those expectations that you have for your child to do when it's now a night before school. That way kids are not procrastinating, and they know the expectation, and they're practicing it, and they're ready. And then parents, you're helping to prepare for that. Another thing is, if you're changing, going from middle school to high school, or elementary school to high school, elementary school to middle school, now's the time to start doing your paperwork, getting your child registered. Don't wait till the last minute, especially if you're going from middle school to high school, because then your child won't get selected for the best classes that can fit their needs. So find out, why are you procrastinating? What's the emotional attachment to what's making it difficult for you to get your thoughts together to go do those things, and deal with self first so that you can move on and deal with what you need with for your child.
Stacey, you bring up a very good point, because one of the things that caught me with my nieces was when they did go from middle school to high school, there was a series of immunizations and things that I hadn't even considered. When is a good time to start looking at the immunization record and scheduling those appointments? Because that can also keep your child from being able to get in the building and start classes.
Correct. You're absolutely right. I know here in North Carolina, you have to look at for kindergarten and 7th grade. You got to make sure now is the time to start making those appointments, in particular since COVID is back on the rise and the doctor's offices are getting busy again. You want to go ahead on and make those appointments now for your physicals for those transitional years, so you can make sure you have your health assessment and your shots ready before school start. North Carolina has been great about giving grace and extensions, but you just don't know if they're going to continue that this year. So don't wait till the last minute to make those doctor's appointments.
Procrastination and flexibility seem to go hand in hand, because oftentimes you can wait too late and you don't have room to be flexible, which makes it difficult to adapt. And sometimes adaptability is what it takes in order to be able to move your life forward. Pastor JT, we procrastinate about a lot of things in life simply because we are uncertain at times about the outcome. We're not clear if we can do it, or if we have all of the tools in our kit in order to make the thing we want to accomplish successful. Can you talk to us a little bit about the role procrastination plays? I'll use this because I know not everybody in our audience that's listening is a believer, but from that standpoint of #adulting, there are just some things in life you have to do to keep yourself moving forward. Talk to us, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Regardless of your religious belief, everybody has to adult at some point in time. But when I think about procrastination, I'm reminded of the quote that Napoleon Hill said. He said, procrastination is the bad habit of putting off to do something the day after tomorrow that should have been done the day before yesterday. Mm-hmm. When we really think about procrastination, and I always talk about this more from a coaching standpoint, I really believe that we have put time frames into existence, because time understands no frame. Time just is. So with that thought process, I always say that there are 3 versions of you that are existing in this present moment: your past self, your present self, and your future self. What procrastination does is it disrespects your future self and it reaffirms your past self. Because procrastination keeps you in repeating the cycles that you've always done and never getting to the place that you were created to be. So I believe that if there is a clear vision of where you want to go, and there is a commitment to your better self and becoming all that you have been created to be, action kills procrastination. That's it. It's simple. You don't have to pray about it. You don't have to fast about it. You don't even have to, as Dr. Tierney said, she needed some more sticky notes. You don't even need a sticky note for this one. Just get up and do something. And action kills procrastination.
Wow, that's super powerful. And I'm glad we're going to Dr. Tierney next, because you talk a lot about leveling up. And sometimes you can't level up if you're always putting off till tomorrow what you really need to get done today. Dr. Tierney, why is procrastination a dream killer?
Well, to answer that, I want to start with what procrastination is not. A lot of people look at procrastination as just being lazy. They look at it as just something that needs a behavior modification. And procrastination, the root of procrastination, and Mocha actually mentioned it. She says she notices that she procrastinates when she feels overwhelmed. Oftentimes we're procrastinating because there's something that we're feeling. It could be a fear. It could be a intense emotion. We could be perfectinating, and it's procrastination because we're wanting something to be perfect. So we don't feel that we are enough or it is enough, So to get to that really solving procrastination, we have to get to what we are feeling. Why am I procrastinating about this thing? What is it that I'm trying to avoid? What feeling am I trying to avoid by not taking this action? What am I afraid that will happen? And so once we address that feeling, then the procrastination will actually kind of self-solve, because we'll continue to be activating and we'll be taking the action like Pastor JT said, because we won't be writhing in fear or feeling guilty or whatever that emotion is that's causing us to delay, that action. And when we go ahead and take the action, that's how we get to that next level. I mean, I know this sounds really simple, but you can't get to your destination if you're standing still. And procrastination means you're standing still. So how can I level up if I'm procrastinating on taking that action? So it is a ultimate killer, because it stops your forward momentum. But don't just look at it as, I just need to do better, I'm just being lazy. No. What are you feeling, sugar, that's got you procrastinating in the first place? That's how you solve procrastination.
I think that those are very key points that we've heard all of our guests share today, because sometimes we are unable to move forward because we have not taken the time or don't have the wherewithal to assess feeling and emotion. And today we're talking about, how do you discover balance for yourself and your kids? Because our children and the people that live in our home, they feed off of what we bring to a space. And so oftentimes being able to grow ahead will keep you from being able to get ahead. When we come back after the break, there's some things that we have all experienced throughout these last few years, and we see them on Facebook, we see them on Twitter, we see them on Instagram, when we are talking about love and loss and grief. And sometimes grief holds us back because we don't want to feel that feeling again, and so it paralyzes us. When we're back after the break, we'll talk about grief and loss and how we can begin to move ourselves forward so that our kids can also move ahead.
When we invest in ourselves, our glow, our vision, our vibe, we all shine. Together, we are black beyond measure.
Put 10 in here?
10, and you don't come out till you die. And you eat him, you eat 10.
Oh my God.
So what?
When we invest in ourselves, we all shine. Together, we are black beyond measure.
Welcome back, everyone, to A Balanced Life. And this conversation today, I hope that it is allowing you to find your access point to better, for greater, to be able to level up, to consider the possibility of powering down, just so that you can have some sense of restoration and healing in your life. So much has been thrown at us over these last 2 years, and now the world is open back up. And we're like, wait, you want me to jump into that? We are sometimes not feeling at our best or even capable of being able to do so. I want to invite everybody back in, because in this season of loss and grief, we don't take into consideration how this impacts our children and whether or not they are ready. We as grown people, oh my goodness, we as grown people have a hard time trying to figure out how to move past being overwhelmed, how to move past being hurt, how to move past a loss of a job, how to move past so many things that it just continues to pile up and pile up and pile up. And then we are sunken under the weight of it. As our guests come in, I want to ask this very simple question. Can you guys share with our audience a few things that you each do to help you recover from loss, whether it was a loss of relationship, a loss of job, a loss of a loved one? There are just so many, loss of time, loss of space, loss of independence. This pandemic has really, caught us, like the tiger by the tail, and we're like, help me, help me. So how do we make things calm down just a little bit? I'll start with Mocha Lee, to give us some ideas of whether it's fitness or breathing or meditation that can aid and guide us in being able to stem the tide and move forward. Mocha.
Yes. Okay. So, man, this is just powerful information for all the viewers, because the grief issue is real. And I know for me personally, I definitely have to have that person that I trust to talk to about situations, how I'm feeling. It's just nice to have that special girlfriend or relative, because especially as women, I feel like we communicate well by talking it out. But what's interesting is that's not everyone's way. So if, as a mom, I have to realize that my teenager, who's now all of a sudden, not talking hardly at all, she might need another outlet. So I always encourage people, and especially young kids, to have some type of outlet. Now, the reason this is really good timing for me is because my kids went to a music camp. We're here in Maryland. They went to a music camp at the University of Maryland. They both play flute. And the band director made such a nice point. And he said, for some people, music is how they communicate, Mm-hmm. And it's just true. If you find an extracurricular or a hobby or something that you can really dive into, and it just gives you those feel good endorphin type feelings, then go there and enjoy it, because you just need to feel good, even if it's for a short time, and then you can come back and still address any sadness or loss that you may have had. But I know for me personally, it's working out is therapeutic, especially working out to some nice music, and breathing. I'm telling you, people just underestimate how deep breathing, not necessarily in a yoga class, but just sitting and breathing heavily and letting that oxygen and the endorphins just work on your brain. It's a beautiful thing. So that's what I recommend.
Thank you for those recommendations. I can tell you a good deep inhale and a very slow exhale can definitely make a world of difference, because honestly, when we talk about how we are managing grief and handling life's uncertainties, being able to just stop for a moment and collect yourself can definitely be beneficial. Dr. Tierney, when we talk about collecting ourselves as we're going through these various stages of emotional uncertainty, how are we guiding people, and what are some tools and tips that you can share with our audience?
Yeah, this one is really real for me, to be extremely transparent. Last year, we're coming up on the 1-year anniversary of me losing my sister to COVID. And the grieving process, this was the first loss that I had as a coach, that I stand in the gap for the people. And now it's me that is, in this intense grieving, for my sister. And the thing that I do as a coach, and I teach my clients to do as a coach, is to just be transparent. I was really real, with my clients and where I was and what, I was feeling. And so it was a beautiful moment for us to share and connect in a different way. It's one of those things where I had to take a minute and just make some white space for myself, so listening to classical music. I listen to classical music now and I enjoy it. Just sitting, being quiet, journaling, allowing myself to really process the emotions, having those moments where I would just sit in my room and cry and allow myself that space to cry and saying it's okay that I need to cry right now. I need to be quiet right now. Spending a lot of time with family and sharing in the memories, of my sister. And so getting closer with my friends and my family and those that I love and that love me, and still holding space for my clients. So it wasn't that I came to sessions like, oh, hi, how are you? Everything is great. But really being honest and transparent with them to say, this is where I am, but still having that space to the capacity to hold space for them, because I'm making space for myself, and teaching them to do the same, to make space for themselves and where they are and their grieving process, which will allow them to hold space for their children, for their spouses, for their significant others, and to be available to them because you're first being available to you. So that's the number one tip that I would say, not just as a coach, but as someone that is walking through the grieving process herself.
I love that, because oftentimes transparency and vulnerability are not things that a lot of people are good at, because they find that they're often taken advantage of when they show weakness. And being transparent and vulnerable is really not a sign of weakness. It's about taking ownership of your feelings. It's about discovering how to master your emotions. It's about giving yourself grace to grieve, giving yourself grace to grow, and allowing those opportunities to be filled in with something that's beautiful and honest. Pastor JT, oftentimes people don't know how to give others grace. Can you talk to us for just a moment about why grace matters in this particular season in our lives? I mean, we should have been practicing grace long before COVID, but if there was ever a time as people move forward, why does grace matter?
Well, grace matters, Dr. Jacquie, because I see grace as currency. And every time we extend grace to somebody else, we're making a deposit. Because at some point in time, you're going to need that same grace that you have extended to somebody else to be returned back to you. And so if you haven't been making any deposits, when it's time for you to withdraw, it's going to be overdrawn, or nothing is going to be there. So I really believe that we have to extend that grace, and we have to offer that shoulder. We have to be to our circle, our village. I believe what we would like people to be to us, because to your point, we're living in some very interesting times, and so many people are grieving because while we do look at grieving and we associate grieving with death, by definition, grieving is the loss of anything that you had an attachment to. So it's the death of a thing. Mm-hmm. It's not necessarily the death of a person. And I believe that just because, and I believe that where we kind of have the issue with extending grace is because we may feel the pull to extend grace to someone while they're at a funeral home, but are reluctant to extend that same grace to somebody after they have just gone through a divorce. Mm-hmm. Because now in this generation, we're having divorce parties to mask that there really is a hole in my heart. And after the balloons go out, after you've drunk all of the alcohol, after you have made all the social media posts, you got to go back to that empty space that once was occupied by somebody that you walked down the aisle and said, I do too. So if we are not really honest, and because if I can just say this, Dr. Jacquie, I'll move on, but grief is the bridge. And a lot of people really don't understand that. Grief is the bridge. Loss happens here. Then there's grief, and then it's healing. Mm-hmm. If we never cross that bridge of grief, we now live life with the loss. Mm-hmm. And so then that's why we're heavy. That's why we're depressed. That's why we can't get out of our funk, because we never allowed the grieving process to happen. And I always say this, I have preached more funerals during this COVID period than I have done weddings, baby dedications, and baptisms. It was a point where it was about 3 months straight. Every Saturday I was preaching a funeral, and I told every family, have your moment, cry, let it out, be angry. Don't be upset with yourself when you're having a moment where you're happy, and then now you're chastising yourself because you feel like you should be upset. Mm-hmm. Allow life to happen, allow those moments to happen, because those are just signs that you're making progress to getting to that place called healing.
Getting to a place called healing, it requires a bridge. And that was super powerful. And I know, Stacey, in your work with kids, and they've had a lot of loss. They couldn't go to the playground. They couldn't go to the ice cream parlor. They couldn't hang out at their favorite fast food restaurant. Kids have different ways of expressing loss. And oftentimes parents don't prepare them to be ready to come back to school or to be in spaces where there are other people. Can you share with us for just a moment about how to help children deal with loss so that they can come back to spaces and be happy and healthy and whole?
Well, I think teaching kids how to deal with loss is difficult because, we used to say time heals everything when it doesn't, because that loss, and you're going to forever be dealing with that loss no matter how much time you give to it. So we like to focus our time on looking at how are you laboring in your emotions. Basically, that emotional labor is that gap between how you really feel and how you must act like you feel when you're in certain situations. You see that a lot with adults who work in service, like teachers and so forth. You may be feeling a certain way actually, but you have to come in and put that smile on. For kids, you may be feeling hurt, but you don't want your peers to know, or you don't want people around you to know. So you have to come in and put in this act to show a different way. So we want to make sure that there's some balance in your emotional labor. When you start laboring those emotions, if it's not balanced, you'll burn out, you'll become depressed, So the best thing for that is to, one, look at tapping into ourselves and knowing how to articulate how we really feel. And then who is that person that you can go to communicate with and talk to so that you can share your true feelings in, balance with how you are having to act for the moment that you're in. So just finding a way to keep their emotional labor balanced is what we tend to focus on.
Teaching children how to balance is a wonderful thing to be able to do. And I love the phrase that you used, as you stated, emotional labor, because oftentimes you have to do it in segments. You have to do it in parts, and you need to stop out and then come back in. You need to, go run around the block, or, take a moment to breathe. And sometimes we don't give ourselves that space to say, I need to step back for a moment and pull myself together. When we come back after the break, we're going to talk a little bit about how to pull yourself together. We'll be back in a moment.
When we invest in ourselves, we all shine. Together, we are Black beyond measure.
I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show, Get Wealthy, focuses on the things that your financial advisor and bank isn't telling you, but you absolutely need to know. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
When we invest in ourselves, we all shine. Together, we are Black beyond measure.
Welcome back, everyone, to A Balanced Life. And we have learned so many things about what it means to be socially, emotionally disconnected. But now, how do we pull ourselves back toward engagement? What does this new normal, for the moment that we have it, start to look like for us as we're readying our kids for being back to school and having to juggle so many schedules again? And so we're in that space of saying, what will I do differently? For anyone that has come through this pandemic and you're saying, oh, I can just go back to whatever my playbook was post 2020, let me tell you, you're in for a rude awakening. Everybody, let's talk for a moment about what it looks like to be able to pull ourselves together. And I'm going to tell you, this is my moment of being transparent and vulnerable. Throughout this entire pandemic, I wish that there was a moment that I could have reached out to call my mom and say, this ish sucks. But my mom has been gone for almost 10 years now, almost 11. And I'm in that space of saying, I have come through this quite well. The fact that I can talk to you now about it, mention my mom without getting teary-eyed, as it was already stated, it's a bridge that you begin to walk over, and it's something that you consistently deal with. But the reality of life is this: you go into these times where you're discovering who you are now and you allow yourself to grow and be a mature adult and handle situations with poise and with grace and with some level of understanding that you may not have all your stuff together, but you're on your way to being able to do so. So I want to ask our guests, what are some of the ways that you stop out and pull yourself together? Dr. Tierney, how do you do that? How do you pull away from everything that you got going on and just pull Dr. Tierney together?
I listen to them. What I do a couple of things actually. So, our phones, they come with a little button that turns the phone off. And so I do that. I hit that little button. It's on the side for most of the phones. I know we really don't know that button anymore because we feel like we have to always be connected and we have to know what everything is going on. Nope. I hit that little button and I turn off my phones, both of them. I turn them off. And I just have moments where I really don't talk to anybody. I'm an introvert that knows how to extrovert very well. So I have my introverted time and I go and I color and I listen to my classical music and I journal and just take that time to really tap into me to say, hey girl, where are you? How are you doing? What's going on? Another thing that I do is I lean into, and this will be more in Pastor JT's purview, but I really lean in and listen to my Heavenly Father. What's happening in that area of my life? What are my new directions and directives? How am I trying to take on all of these burdens myself and not casting them onto him? Am I talking to God regularly or daily? Or, you know what I'm saying? When I start to feel that anxiousness, I know that I'm not really listening into him like I should be. So I really take that time in that spiritual space to really connect with my Heavenly Father to help me get me together, make sure that I have a clear view of me, and so those are just two things that I do regularly. The third thing that I do is I connect with my friends and family. I make time for friends. Being a business owner, I'm guilty of this where I'm just go, 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 go. And then I was talking to one of my friends and she was like, I haven't seen you all year. And I was like, oh my gosh. We really hadn't seen each other all year, so being very intentional about connecting with my friends and hanging out and, FaceTiming. I spent actually last Friday 3 hours FaceTiming with my old college roommate, and just spending time and connecting and, and so those are the 1, 2, 3 that I do to kind of help pull me together, connect me, with who I am and whose I am, and to connect with those that are my people in my village.
Absolutely. Pastor JT.
Yes, well, I'll be honest with you. Dr. Tierney said be transparent, so I'm being transparent. Y'all don't hold this against me, but I'm still trying to figure it out. It's like Velcro. I try to pull away, and then I start hearing all that loud. Y'all hear that loud noise when you pulling away Velcro? So I feel like I'm not supposed to pull away, so I go back to it, but I'm working on it. But one of the things that I have to do, and this happens at least once a week, I am reminded of Psalms 46, where David says, be still and know that I am God. In that moment, he wasn't talking about just being still physically, but he was talking about being mentally still, being emotionally still. Be still. Because in all of your moving and doing, you sometimes forget. So when you're still, you're able to know, okay, he's God. And so then it kind of reduces a lot of the anxiety, a lot of the stress. There are so many fires. I'm always trying to put them out. But I got to realize I'm not the only fireman. There's a lot of other people that can assist me in helping putting these fires out. So I think that if I can pass that on to anybody that's listening, don't get consumed by the fire because you're trying to put out everybody else's fire. Pull on your village, get some help, and I believe that everything else will be okay.
Absolutely. Mocha Lee.
I'm still over here having church, Pastor JT. Oh, my goodness. Okay, let me say, I'm so excited that you mentioned delegate, because I'm telling you, a lot of the men and the males that and the dads, and even my own husband, when you learn how to delegate, man, I just think it helps so much. And then me, I'm like, oh, wow, my girls are old enough now. Guess what? I could have them do that chore and have them do that chore, and it's not all on me. And that is a way that I pull myself together. It's just remembering, yeah, you can get some help sometime. It's all right. There are the two other things that I do that I know are very specific to my life. And I'm telling you, it helps me every single day. One is I focus on gratitude all the time. I have a gratitude journal in my phone, and every day I put something that I'm just so thankful for. And then sometimes if I'm getting upset or uptight about a situation, I try to flip it and I say, okay, well, at least here's the positive side of that. You know, the gratitude mentality has really made an amazing difference in my life. And it's because I'm not a natural optimist. I'm a realist. So for me to force myself to really just look at gratitude on a daily basis is amazing. And then you know it's coming, so brace yourself. For me, I try to eat properly. Why? Because I make better decisions when I'm energetic. And guess how you get energy? You put the right stuff in your body. So I don't even leave the house without a water bottle. I stay hydrated. And I'm not perfect. Of course, you know, birthdays come, I eat the cake. You know, I like sweets. But in general, I notice that I feel so much better when I'm concentrating on eating healthy and eating lots of salads and, you know, all the good stuff, fruits, nuts, little protein here and there. It helps, I'm telling you. And somebody, I hope you receive that it does make a difference in just your day-to-day life.
Good nutrition matters. Stacey Owens.
So I don't know if I should come behind Mokali because usually I run and I do so much that it's normally those times when I find myself in the bed eating cookies and chips and all the stuff that I don't normally eat. And can't get up, I can't move, I can't do anything. I'm just there for like a couple of days. And then usually that second day, it sort of hits me and I'm like, wait a minute, girl, this is not even how you normally move. You need to knock it off. Then I start talking to myself. You know, it's healthy to talk to yourself as long as you don't talk back. You know, I start talking to myself like, what's going on with you? Why are you here? Why are you there? And then I kick into my AAA. So I start assessing the things that I've been doing. I start thinking about and reflecting on, well, how did I make adjustments to what I was going through? Or, you know, well, what was my actions that I've just finished doing? And then I adjust. You know, I wish I could say it's as clear cut and clean as everyone else, but it's usually take me a couple of days to realize, wow, I'm in a space that I don't normally operate in. And it's okay to be here because maybe my body just needed to stop. But now what do I need to do to kick it up and get up and start moving again? So I don't allow myself to stay there, you know, so I recognize it and tap into my own feelings. And then I get over myself and get up and keep more. Because, you know, I still have one of those praying mothers. So if she noticed that I disappeared for a couple of days and I'm not connected to the world, she'll come looking after me to get me out the bed.
You know, everybody, it's very interesting. I have enjoyed listening to what each of you has said. And, you know, I'll be honest, you know, just maybe like a month ago, because I work with so many people and I'm in a lot of different spaces, one of the things that I had to do was pull myself back and just monitor other people's behavior, because I recognize that, as everyone here has stated, you two are all going through various things. Each of you out here in the world are trying to find your space and navigate it. And so I went back to something that was familiar to me. And, you know, most of us have positive sayings on the wall. You have Post-it notes everywhere. So I went back to my Morse code bracelets. And so I have 3, and they do remind me every day to do 3 things: be still, be present, and exhale the BS. I mean, literally, that's what it says on my bracelets. It says, be still, because I know for me, sometimes I can run ahead of God. I can run ahead of those things that are natural and important, and I need to just kind of step back. But I also have learned the value of being present, which is observing my surroundings and really listening to what people are saying. I mean, I wouldn't be a good coach, a good leader, if I didn't take the time, you know, to really listen and see where people are, because it gives me a new guide in order to be able to stay in their space. Because, you know, I'm telling y'all gonna lose some friends, you know, coming out of this pandemic, because people are not going to be who you think they are. They're not who they were when we were going through this pandemic. So as they emerge, I want you to be aware that people are coming out of this thing differently. And then, you know, as I said, I have to exhale the BS. I'm learning not to take it personally. People are people, and they're going to be people. And it's not directed at me. It's who they are. So audiences, you have listened to some of what our panel has said and the great tips that they have given. When we come back after the break, I am going to give my reflection, and we're just going to discover together how we can move our lives forward while engaging with other people when we're back after the break.
When we invest in ourselves, our glow, our vision, our vibe, we all shine. Together, we are Black beyond measure.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punches!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
Welcome back, everyone, to A Balanced Life. And as you can tell, ownership is the primary key to discovering how to live a balanced life. Social health, emotional health, physical health, mental health, emotional health, spiritual health, financial health, they all matter. And in this season of coming through this pandemic and discovering, as kids are literally, we're being told, going back into the classroom, masked or unmasked, this level of normal for us will literally sit some people on their heels. So I hope that there's something that has been stated today that will allow you to find that space, number one, to unwind and unplug and to get unbusy, because oftentimes each of those things is necessary for you to be able to navigate the world in which you live. Give yourself time and space to grow. Give yourself grace to live again, but also make certain that whatever these traits are as adults that you are learning to carry, that you deposit those into your children. Sit them down, talk to them, go back to having family time after school, in the car, on the weekend. Allow your kids to see you process life. I'm telling you, these tips that we are teaching ourselves and that we are discovering together will go a long way for this next generation if they can learn from us. Thank you all for joining today, and thank you for watching A Balanced Life here on Black Star Network. Bye now.
When we invest in ourselves, we all shine. Together, we are Black beyond measure.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punches!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?